opportunity to view the proposed major capital projects for the 2020 City of Buda Transportation Mobility Master Plan. The City of Buda has developed this Transportation Mobility Master Plan to serve two primary purposes. One purpose is to serve as the tool that the city will use to communicate its transportation needs, programs, and projects to residents and regional partners. As a communication tool, the TMMP will help ensure continued community support for the projects, programs, and funding needed to keep pace with growing transportation needs. It will also help facilitate the pursuit of regional partnerships with agencies such as Hays and Travis counties, the Texas Department of Transportation, the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, the cities of Kyle and Austin, and the private development sector. The second primary purpose of the TMMP is to identify mobility needs, develop solutions, and prioritize improvements to allow the transportation system to keep pace with growth and development. Today, what we'd like to highlight is the project viewer that we have online where users can see each of the various projects. The projects within the TMMP report are broken down into roadway improvements, intersection improvements, and trail sidewalk improvements. The link to the map is shown at the bottom of this slide. The summary of roadway mobility projects includes short-term, mid-term, and long-term projects. We'd like to highlight several of the short-term projects as well as a couple of the mid-term projects that we feel are important for the plan. For the intersection mobility improvement projects, we've also listed some key projects that are short-term that we will cover. And finally, our trail and sidewalk mobility projects. There are 4 key projects that we'd like to highlight. The selection and development of the TMMP capital projects was informed by a review of current transportation-related plans and policies and an extensive public outreach and public engagement process, as well as meetings with key local and regional stakeholders. The mobility projects represented within the online map viewer are for planning purposes only. The final alignment of projects will depend on factors including, but not necessarily limited to, environmental constraints, topography, property ownership, or development concerns. The data within this application are not survey grade or intended for construction use. The roadway widths depicted in this application are not proportional to the width of right-of-way or width of pavement for any individual project, and are meant as a representation of the network connectivity and general alignment of the mobility improvements. The street topology for a described street section can be found in the Transportation Mobility Master Plan report. Now let's overview the roadway capital improvement projects. The first project we'll review is L6. This is the Coal Springs Road Improvement Project. These improvements will be from FM 1626 to Old Black Colony Road. The roadway is currently a 2-lane rural section and will be improved to a MAD 2 collector street. The next project is Project L7, the Robert S. Light Boulevard Extension. This project is from FM 1626 to South Loop 4 RM 967. This project will be performed by TxDOT and is part of the Hays County Transportation Bond Program. It's a short-term project and has been identified as a key need in both the 2013 Transportation Master Plan and the current 2020 TMMP. The next project is Project L10, the Old Goforth Road to FM 2001 improvements. This will be from Overpass Road to a new road, a connector from Hillside Terrace North to the existing FM 2001. When the new 2001 alignment is completed, this road will be converted to a community connector. The road will be enhanced with safety improvements, including pedestrian crossings, drainage improvements, and site safety improvements. The next project, L11 West Goforth Road, is between South Loop 4 RM 967 and the I-35 southbound frontage road. This existing street will be converted to an active street section. Because the right-of-way width is variable and the lanes are variable along this section, it will be a hybrid of an existing collector street. It will include on-street parking and pedestrian improvements, as well as bicycle mobility improvements. Our next project, L21, is the Old Black Colony Road connector. This will be from a realignment of Coal Springs Road to RM 967. This project is tracking with the proposed Colony at Coal Springs subdivision. This will include a realignment and safety enhancement of Old Black Colony Road with a connection to 967 across from the Creekside apartment complex. This will include a signalized intersection and pedestrian improvements. Our next project, L22, is the San Antonio Street extension from RM 967 to the existing San Antonio Street. This project will be performed in cooperation with Hayes CISD and will involve a direct connection of San Antonio Street to westbound RM 967, allowing traffic to bypass the downtown node at Main Street and 967. Our next project, L23, is the Garlic Creek Parkway. This project would extend from 967 to the future extension of State Highway 45 Southwest. The scope of the proposed study for this project will include working with property owners and community stakeholders to define mobility needs for the area and potential alignments for the connection to State Highway 45 and Garrison Road. The study will identify and further define the necessary cross-sections, alignments, short-term and long-term mobility needs across all modes of transportation. It will include an evaluation of intersection locations, potential interchange locations, and allow for public and stakeholder input. Our next project, L32, is the Cabela's Drive connector between West Goforth Road and Cabela's Drive. This collector road will provide more efficient north-south movement by creating a backage road for and direct route to I-35, reducing the vehicle miles traveled and creating redundancy in the city's network. Our next project, L36, is the Railroad Street improvements between Houston Street and Main Street. The existing Railroad Street will be reconstructed into an active street section and allow for greater mobility between Main Street and downtown, as well as provide on-street parking for the businesses along Railroad Street. Our next two projects, L56 and L68, are in the downtown area. The Austin Street improvements will involve drainage improvements, pedestrian improvements, and mobility enhancements parallel to Main Street downtown. This will provide on-street parking and allow shoppers and visitors to walk between Main Street and Austin Street. It will also provide a reliever route to Main Street. The downtown street improvements include all of the streets in the downtown area and will include spot repairs for drainage issues, potential utility relocation, pedestrian and bicycle improvements. Now, let's cover the intersection capital improvement projects. The first project we'll look at is P2 from Overpass Road, Old FM 2001. This will include various improvements to eliminate queuing issues in both the morning and evening peak traffic times. There will also be a study of the traffic conflicts at the existing three-way stop-controlled intersection. Our next project, P6, is to place a traffic signal at the Oyster Creek intersection of 967. Our next project, P7, is the RM 967 FM 1626 intersection study. To further support local and regional travel, this project will study the intersection at RM 967 and 1626 to determine the improvements necessary to preserve capacity along the recently expanded FM 1626 corridor. This study will help analyze the intersection and identify other improvements needed to help realize the full capacity of the recent improvements to FM 1626. We'll consider the removal of potential bottlenecks along this regional arterial. It will identify and analyze conceptual alternatives to improve the intersection, define right-of-way needs, determine project costs, and include a development of scope for the design of preferred alternatives, and recommend a timeline for implementation of the improvements. Our next project, P10, is the Old Black Colony Road FM 967 signal. One of our roadway capital improvement projects included the realignment of Old Black Colony Road across from the Creekside apartment complex. This will include adding the signal and will be part of the Colony at Cold Springs subdivision development. Our next project, P11, is the FM 2770 RM 967 Main Street intersection improvement project. This will include a variety of improvements and include the full reconstruction of the FM 2770 RM 967 Main Street intersection to improve safety for both vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Our next project, P13, is the Old San Antonio Road Cabela's intersection. Initially, this will be converted to a four-way stop-controlled intersection. Eventually, a new traffic signal will be installed at this intersection. The next project, P17, is the RM 967 acceleration-deceleration lane improvements. Creation of acceleration and deceleration lanes at Cullen Boulevard and RM 967, as well as Garlic Creek Grove and RM 967, will add increased mobility in and out of the west side subdivisions. Our final grouping of projects, P22 through P26, include intersection improvements and pedestrian crossing improvements throughout downtown. The primary intersections will include Old San Antonio, Elm, Peach, Ash, and the Buda Mill and Grain crossings. Now let's cover the major capital improvement recommendations for trail sidewalk mobility. The first three projects will highlight L44, the Garlic Creek Trail, L45, the Onion Creek Trail, and L46, the Bradfield Trail, as well as the trails within Stagecoach Park, serve as the backbone of the city's growing trail network. Each trail will include a variety of improvements to include trailheads, neighborhood access points, street and drainage feature crossings, and natural and paved trail and sidewalk sections. For the Garlic Creek Trail, we'll include construction of new bike ped infrastructure, as well as facilities that are offset from roadways within the adjoining subdivisions. It will also close gaps in the existing trail network and allow for separation of bike and pedestrian traffic for motor vehicles. Selective lighting will be added along the trail segments. The project will also include a safe low water crossing between the neighborhoods south and north of Garlic Creek. The Onion Creek Trail includes sections through the recently improved City Park and newly opened Garrison Park. Bradfield Trail will increase north-south mobility between Main Street and West Goforth. The final trail sidewalk mobility improvement is L67, the FM 2770 trail connection, which will connect the new bridge across Onion Creek that's part of the Colony at Cold Springs subdivision to Bluff Street and will provide a means for pedestrian egress-ingress between downtown and the west side subdivisions. We hope this presentation was useful in helping you review the major capital projects proposed in the city's 2020 Transportation Mobility Master Plan. We look forward to your commentary and questions on the projects and the TMMP report posted on the city's Buda Moves website. Thank you for your time and attention.